Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Om Surabhyay Namaha
Om Surabhyay Namaha.
Mukham karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tvaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripa tvaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Have you noticed how in the backside it is completely forest? On the right side, also completely forest. On the left side, practically completely forest. On your backside and also on my backside. Means we are caught in between forests, as like in a valley. Not actually a valley, but yeah. So we can relate to the sadhus in Naimisharanya. You are the modern day Naimisharanya representatives. Nice feeling, nice thoughts. Yeah, means what was going on 5,000 years ago, by the mercy of our acharyas, continues today in another force. Yeah. And we are fortunate also because in many places around the world, especially in the US, something like 95% of the forest is no more, destroyed. So we happen to be living, or we happen to be, some of us are living here, but not everyone. We happen to be in a place where these forests are actually being protected. And do you know that actually there are something like 33 or 34, something like this, what is known as biodiversity hotspots. You've heard of biodiversity hotspots?
Yes, Maharaj.
We are all sitting on one of those biodiversity hotspots. Yeah. Sayadri. Huh? World. In the world. Yeah. We're sitting, we are within 33 of these biodiversity hotspots, which is actually being protected by the UNESCO. Actually, the whole Sayadri range, where we are now, has been accepted as a World Heritage place, which is protected. That's why we occasionally get the visits of some of our friends. Won't mention any names.
Lots of flora and fauna.
Which is good, actually. Yeah. Because that is part of our Vedic culture and Vaishnava philosophy to protect Krishna's creation, yeah, and so it is good that we have some close friends who are reminding us at times. So we are reading from Canto number 1, chapter 2, still, entitled Divinity and Divine Service. We were just waiting for Raghumeshwar Prabhu to come and sit down before reading the verse. Today's text number 23, eh? Yes, 23. Sattvam Rajas Tama Iti Prakriter Gunas Tair Yuktaha Paraha Purusha Eka Ihasya Dhatte Stiti Adaye Hari Virinchi Hareti Samjnaha Shreyamsi Tatra Kalu Sattva Tanor Nrinam Syuhu Sattvam Rajastama iti prakriter gunastair Yukta para purusha eka ihasya dhatte Sityadaye hari virinchi hareti samnaha Shreyamsi tatra kalu sattva tanor rinam syuhu Sattvam rajastama iti prakriter gunastair Yukta para purusha eka ihasya dhatte Sityadaye hari virinchi hareti samjnaha Shreyamsi tatra kalu sattva tanor nrinam syuhu Sattvam rajastamo iti prakriter gunastair Yukta para purusha eka ihasya dhatte Sityadaye hari virinchi hareti samjnaha Shreyamsi tatra kalu sattva tanor nrinam syuhu
Sattvam rajastama iti prakriter gunastair Yukta para purusha eka ihasya dhatte Sityadaye hari virinchi hareti sangya Shreyamsi tatra khalu sattva tanodhrunam syuhu Sattvam rajastama iti prakriter gunastair युक्तः परः पुरुष एक इहस्य धत्ते
युक्तः परः पुरुष एक इहास्य धत्ते
स्थितादे हरिविरिञ्च हरेति समग्नः
स्थित्यादये हरिविरञ्चि हरेति संज्ञाः
श्रेयंसि तत्र खलु सत्त्वतनोर्नृणां सूयः
श्रेयांसि तत्र खलु सत्त्वतनोरनृणां
Sattvam,
सत्त्वं
goodness,
goodness
rajaha,
रजः
passion,
passion
tamaha,
tamaha
the darkness of ignorance,
the darkness of ignorance
iti,
iti
thus,
thus
prakritehe,
prakrite
of the material nature,
of the material nature
gunaha,
gunaha
qualities,
qualities
tai,
tai
by them, yuktaha,
yuktaha
associated with,
associated with
paraha,
paraha
transcendental,
transcendental
purushaha,
purusaha
the personality,
the personality
ekaha,
ekaha
one,
one
iha asya,
iha asya
of this material world,
of this material world
dhatte,
dhatte
accepts,
accepts
iti adaye,
Siddhyadaye
for the matter of creation,
for the matter of creation,
maintenance,
maintenance
and destruction,
and destruction,
etc.
etc.
Hari,
Hari,
Vishnu,
Vishnu,
the personality of Godhead,
the personality of Godhead,
Virinchi,
Viranchi,
Brahma,
Brahma,
Hara,
Hara,
Lord Shiva,
Lord Shiva,
iti,
iti,
thus,
thus,
samvznaha,
samya,
different features,
different features,
shreyamsi,
Sreyansi,
ultimate benefit,
ultimate benefit,
tatra,
Tatra,
therein,
therein,
kalu,
Khalu,
of course,
of course,
sattva,
Sattva,
goodness,
goodness,
tanoho,
Tanu,
form,
form,
nrinam,
Nrinam,
of the human being,
of the human being,
syuhu,
Siv,
derived.
derived.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form or the quality of goodness. Kindly repeat after me. The transcendental personality of Godhead
The transcendental personality of Godhead
is indirectly associated
is indirectly associated
with the three modes of material nature,
with the three modes of material nature,
namely passion, goodness, and ignorance.
namely passion, ignorance, and goodness.
Namely passion,
Passion,
goodness,
goodness,
and ignorance.
and ignorance.
And just for the material world's creation,
And just for the material world creation,
maintenance, and destruction,
maintenance, and destruction,
he accepts
he accepts
the three qualitative forms
three qualitative forms
of Brahma,
of Brahma,
Vishnu,
Vishnu,
and Shiva.
and Shiva.
Of these three,
Of these three,
all human beings
all human beings
can derive ultimate benefit
can derive ultimate benefit
from Vishnu,
from Vishnu,
the form of the quality of goodness.
the form of the quality of goodness.
Purport. That Lord Sri Krishna, by his plenary parts, should be rendered devotional service, as explained above, is confirmed by this statement. Lord Sri Krishna and all his plenary parts are Vishnu Tattva, or the Lordship of Godhead. From Sri Krishna, the next manifestation is Baladev. From Baladev is Sankarshan. From Sankarshan is Narayana. From Narayana there is the second Sankarshan, and from this Sankarshan, the Vishnu Purusha avatar. The Vishnu, or the deity of the quality of goodness in the material world, is the Purusha avatar known as Kshirodakshay Vishnu, or Paramatma. Brahma is a deity of Rajas, passion, and Shiva, of ignorance. They are the three departmental heads of the three qualities of this material world. Creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu, and when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tandava Nritya. The materialists and foolish human beings worship Brahma and Shiva respectively. But the pure transcendentalists worship the form of goodness, Vishnu, in his various forms. Vishnu is manifested by his millions and billions of integrated forms and separated forms. The integrated forms are called Godhead, and the separated forms are called the living entities, or the Jivas. Both the Jivas and Godhead have their original spiritual forms. Some Jivas are sometimes subjected to the control of material nature, but the Vishnu forms are always controllers of this energy. When Vishnu, the personality of Godhead, appears in the material world, he comes to deliver the conditioned living beings who are under the material energy. Such living beings appear in the material world with intentions of being lords, and thus they become entrapped by the three modes of nature. As such, the living entities have to change their material coverings for undergoing different terms of imprisonment. The prison house of the material world is created by Brahma under instruction of the personality of Godhead. And at the conclusion of a kalpa, the whole thing is destroyed by Shiva. But as far as maintenance of the prison house is concerned, it is done by Vishnu. As much as the state prison house is maintained by the state. Anyone, therefore, who wishes to get out of this prison house of material existence, which is full of miseries, like repetition of birth, death, disease, and old age, must please Lord Vishnu for such liberation. Lord Vishnu is worshipped by devotional service only. And if anyone has to continue prison life in the material world, he may ask for relative facilities for temporary relief from the different demigods like Shiva, Brahma, Indra, and Varuna. No demigod, however, can release the imprisoned living being from the conditioned life of material existence. This can be done only by Vishnu. Therefore, the ultimate benefit may be derived from Vishnu, the personality of Godhead. Translation again. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance. And just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. So most of us have read this before or heard it, and it is giving very nice explanation of how the affairs of the world, how the affairs of the universe are conducted. It's just like in any, let's say, big company, you have the head of that company, but he's not alone. He has different directors and officers, and he has many agents, many people working for him, because he's a big man. He can pay them all. And if he has a good company, he has all kinds of activities. So on a much larger scale, Krishna is very much like that. We, of course, cannot imagine the scope of his duties and responsibilities. Not only he looks after and maintains, here actually subject matter is he creates, he maintains, and also destroys. All of these universes that appear in a very systematic and timely manner, the details of which are given in the Srimad Bhagavatam, also referred to in the Bhagavad Gita, means everything is nicely arranged, nicely ordained, nicely designed. So one of the popular, more recent philosophies today, something happening. Doesn't take much to go away from Bhagavatam class. What is called the intelligent, the design by intelligence. You've heard this philosophy, maybe? It's a recent kind of philosophical position, and it's in many ways very close to our philosophy, because we know that there is a design. The whole creation, maintenance, and destruction is all pre-planned, pre-arranged, pre-designed. And the Lord, through his different representatives, actually through his different incarnations, who are also referred as Godhead. Prabhupada uses the word lordship. Yeah, just like in England they have lords. I mean, it's not a good comparison. But they have titles. They have titles. So all of these different incarnations of the Lord, Vishnu-Tattva. That's why we can learn a little bit about these tattvas through the appearance of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva. The main tattvas. Three Vishnu. How many Vishnu tattvas in the Panchatattva? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it cannot be 6. Huh? 3. Which are the Vishnu Tattvas in the Pancha Tattva? Who's the first one? Lord Chaitanya. Yes. Second? Advaita. Then? Nityananda. Actually, first is, it's like, because Nityananda is like Balaram. So after Lord Chaitanya, anyways, Nityananda is on the right of Lord Chaitanya. So yes, those are the 3 Vishnu Tattvas. Then there is the Jiva Tattva, who is? Shiva Thakur. And the other one is? Gadadhar. Shakti Tattva. Representing, Srimati Radharani. So here it mentions, actually there's a statement here which when we first read it may be confusing. Let us not be distracted. When I just read this, I was, I will read it again, and some of you might like to throw some light on this. Srila Prabhupada is explaining about the respective responsibilities of the different Purusha avatar. No, even before that, he speaks about 3 personalities who are heading up these 3 qualities of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then Prabhupada mentions creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu. And when it requires to be destroyed, Lord Shiva does it by the Tandava Nritya. No problem with Lord Shiva, because he is the Lord of destruction. How to understand the statement that creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu? This time I'm asking questions. Because we generally hear that it is Brahma who is creating. Now here Prabhupada seems to be contradicting Shastra and telling that creation is made possible by the goodness of Vishnu. Yes. They looked at this in the Bhakti Bible course.
Vishnu is always considered to be the primary creator and Brahma is a secondary creator.
Vishnu is a primary creator.
Because Shirodaka says Vishnu, everything comes out. And Shambhu, the sight of the Lord.
Yes.
Shambhu impregnates the Pradhana.
Yeah, correct. All the living entities.
Yes. So Brahma's role is only just, he has to just put the souls in respective bodies which are already made by Vishnu. That's all.
Brahma has to?
Just take the role of putting different souls in different species.
Simple job.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Secondary creation.
Lord Brahma, he is a creator, but he is not the primary creator, as you rightly explained. Because Bhagavatam actually deals with the subject matter of creation. Sarga, Visarga. Yes. And so the first creation, which, because Lord Brahma, although is the creator, he doesn't create the spiritual world. No way. Yeah, because Lord Brahma, he is, we say, ordinary jiva. Some of you might have been a Brahma before. What happened? Or some of you might become Brahma. Wow.
Right.
Trying?
Right.
Yes, it is proper. It's just like in any country, you can, if you work hard enough, you can become, okay, let's forget about a country, maybe a company. You can become the head of the company, president of the company. You could also become the president of the country. It is, opportunity is there. So, main message which is being conveyed here is that of all of these different personalities, and that's why, especially here in India, most people, they don't know this secret. Anyone here from Bengal? I don't want to pick on anybody. No one's from Bengal, eh? Who's from Bengal? You're from Bengal? Which place in Bengal? Oh my God, is it Kolkata? Yeah. Anyways, I'm sure it's not only happening in Bengal, so you won't feel singled out. But I've seen it in Bengal because I visited more places in Bengal than other places. But when you go to somebody's home and they want to introduce you to their altar, then they have many people on their altar. Many deities, many pictures, not only on the altar but also on the wall, right side, left side, even on the ceiling sometimes. Everywhere you look, somebody's looking at you. Yeah. So the point is that even here in India, or especially here in India, it's not so easy to sort out, who is who, or which is the most important. And in order to avoid offending anyone, they just keep everyone on the altar. Shanti, Om Shanti, Shanti. People like this. They try not to miss anyone. They take a long time, So it means that actually it is not so easy to, we would go and visit in villages and in some of the devotees' home. Initially they had all of these pictures, then gradually a few of them started coming off the altar, and then as they continued reading the Bhagavatam, then Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. People would come to that conclusion or understanding. Means it is very rare, and it is a great fortune also to come to that understanding that we take for granted that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the message here actually is that in order for us to get out of this material world, we must, at some point, take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, who is known as Mukunda, and only he awards mukti, liberation. That's why he's called Mukunda, yes. So of all of these personalities, we derive, as mentioned here, the ultimate benefit by worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead in or through the process of bhakti, devotional service. And we will read in the Bhagavatam, as we continue through this first canto, how even though someone may still have some material desires, still it is recommended that he worship Krishna. Still it is recommended that he practice bhakti, devotional service. Akama sarvakamo va muktas, yeah. Yes, all pandits. Sanskrit pandit. Yes. So whether one has akama, no material desire, or moksha kama, desire for liberation, or full of material desires still, so the same process is being given. So Prabhupada explains in the beginning of the purport that this simply, many such statements we find, many verses in the Bhagavatam to simply give further support to previous statements that were made like that. And that's why it's difficult to understand how someone who's a Mayavadi and reads the Bhagavatam can come out reading the Bhagavatam without understanding that Krishna is tu Bhagavan Swayam. But somehow it happens. Even Bhagavad Gita also. Many people who read the Bhagavad Gita still don't have that understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And also the Bhagavatam. Of course, Prabhupada explains that Sripad Shankaracharya avoided writing a commentary on the Bhagavatam because so many verses that are very clearly establishing the actual identity and position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So I'll read the text again here. The transcendental personality of Godhead is indirectly associated with the three modes of material nature, namely passion, goodness, and ignorance, and just for the material world's creation, maintenance, and destruction, he accepts the three qualitative forms of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. Of these three, all human beings can derive ultimate benefit from Vishnu, the form of the quality of goodness. So any questions on this? Yes.
Bhagavatam and all these Vedic literatures, it is clearly mentioned that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. So how, there are so many other things, other persons treated as, or they are considered as gods.
Your question is that in the Bhagavatam it is clearly established that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why is it that people believe others to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead? They have not read the Bhagavatam attentively. Actually, there are statements in other literatures where that the word Bhagavan is also used, indicating the Supreme Lord. And actually, even the word Bhagavan is used sometimes in addressing Narada Muni. But this needs to be understood properly. We know that Narada Muni is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he is a true representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And just like we are reading here, how the Lord takes on three primary forms in charge of the three modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, and also the Puranas are divided accordingly. So in order to make those who are, let's say, in a different mode of nature, they need to follow the good instructions that are given, for example, by Lord Shiva. So they need to accept him as their authority. If one reads, however, all of the major shastras, then one will be able to understand the actual position of Lord Shiva, because ultimately there can only be one Bhagavan. There can only be one Supreme Personality of Godhead. There are many controllers or Ishvaras. So unless one has been exposed to a wide variety of Vedic literatures, one may be connected only with one personality. It may be someone like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma or others. I mean, even Narada Muni was asking his father, Lord Brahma, is there anybody else beside you? You know, yeah, because Lord Brahma is so powerful, but Lord Brahma is not, although he's creator, as we discussed a few minutes ago, he is the secondary creator. And that is why one needs to read and study the Vedic literatures under some authority or guidance, so that one can properly understand, especially certain statements which may be misleading or confusing. And that statement is also made by Lord Brahma himself, who is, recognized as the most intelligent living entity. And in his Brahma Samhita, he explains how simply by our own reading of the Shastra, we cannot so easily understand. Videshu dolabam adolabam atmabhakto. It becomes easy to understand if one is in proper parampara, where those acharyas have made a very deep study of the Shastra. Yes.
Guru Maharaj, as we see in Jagannath temple, the prasad is offered to Lord Jagannath, and after that it is served to Vimla Devi.
Yes.
But we see in whole India, lots of priests are there of other, like of Durga Mata and Shivji. If we tell that we have offered a fruit or a garland to Lord Vishnu temple, and we give to the priests that please take it and offer this prasadam too, but they deny it. So how to make them, how to convince them that he is the supreme, Lord Vishnu is supreme, and so that people in general get confused due to these things.
You begin by giving them prasadam. And most people who are coming down, who are connected with some particular sampradaya, it takes some time to actually, because very often it will come down through like generations, and it takes some time for individuals, especially who may be priests, for example, and who are attached to their particular way and their particular teachings. I mean, the subject matter of tattva, which is what we are discussing here, is a very involved and deep subject matter. And anyone, of course, has access, and anyone can come to that proper understanding, but for some, it will take longer. And of course, it really depends on their state of consciousness. If they're open, then anyone and everyone actually can and is meant to come to that proper understanding. Otherwise, people simply continue worshipping different demigods, and very often actually because even people who worship demigods, or possibly especially those who worship demigods, they're very confused as to, there's so many demigods. Everyone knows that there's so many demigods. They may have a favorite demigod, but generally people don't have a clear understanding of the point that Prabhupada is making in terms of Godhead. There are many gods, but there's one head God. In a village there are many residents, there are many villagers, but there is one village head, one chief, a person. So that concept, generally people don't have that understanding. They can come to that understanding by reading literature such as Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, that have been nicely presented, like in Guru Parampara. I mean, most Bhagavad Gitas, as Prabhupada would explain, don't give that clear understanding of who actually is Krishna. So people must have the good fortune to come in contact with those who have a clear understanding. And our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya is, we could say, specializing in giving clarity to this, to establishing Siddhanta. That is one of our primary goals and objectives, to establish, based on Shastra, the conclusion of Shastra. And just like we point out in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna himself explains, Vedayasya sarvar aham eva vedyo vedanta krit vedavid eva chaham. That people don't know that the actual end of all knowledge and the conclusion of all knowledge, or topmost knowledge, is Krishna, the end of all knowledge. So the end of Vedanta is coming to that conclusion. So we have to be patient in our dealing with them and encourage. Just like someone sent me a picture today of, as you know, we just had the maybe 5 months back. When was the Bhadra campaign? What month was that again? August?
Yes.
Something? Yeah. So, 6 months ago, approximately, 5 months back. And we know that so many sets of Bhagavatam were distributed all over the world. People made pledges. So here in India, our IDVM actually made pledge for distributing 108 sets of the Bhagavatam. And some people were helping to sponsor and like that. And so 2 of these sets made their way to 2 villages in the district of Howrah, in Bengali Bhagavatam set, local language. And it's like that village, of course, is already fortunate because there are a number of devotees chanting, but to have to have the whole Bhagavatam set in a village is probably quite rare. Out of the close to 7 lakh villages, 700,000 villages in India, has anyone made a survey how many of them have Bhagavatam set? Probably very few. Yeah. So, I could show you the picture. They sent a picture. The people in Bengal are very pious. So now things should balance a little bit. So they had put out the whole sets, the small temple area they had, and they were having a special ceremony of receiving. It's like you receive a guest, receiving Krishna through the Bhagavatam, and they nicely decorated with flowers and everything, and they were chanting mantras, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and it's like it was a big ceremony, which of course is meant to be like that. Prabhupada wanted, as we know, during his presence, he was the one who was encouraging. This is like amazing. And devotees, in the early days, we were just distributing the, Back to Godhead magazine. And then some books, came out, and it was considered like a very big thing to distribute, especially a big book, one big book, wow, Today I distributed 5 big books, wow, and 10 big books, and then from big books came sets, Bhagavatam sets, and then Prabhupada would tell the devotees, you just go to some libraries and you tell them that these are books published from the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And so Prabhupada was actually telling them, you not only you show them the books that we have now, but you tell them that they can invest in all of our future books. So devotees would go to a library, meet the librarian. They had some very nice pamphlets, very first-class color, and colors of the existing books, and they made jackets. Even the book was not yet printed, they made jackets. Jacket is like a cover for a book, for the books to be printed. And people knew, of course, that the books were still not yet printed, but they would actually order the full set. And devotees were like totally surprised that people would do that, because people in libraries, they love books. Their dharma is books. Bring more books. So a librarian, he's always looking for new books. So our devotees, like we had these library parties, devotees that would go in so many universities. Like I'm sure you visit practically any college or university in India, you go to any country, practically speaking, also. Devotees would go to different countries, and they would be dressed, in some countries they would be dressed in like civilian, otherwise people would, and they would present, this is the author, from India, Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he has written all of these books, and some more books are coming. So it's like, Prabhupada wanted and expected and requested that in every, it's like, in every town and village, the chanting of the holy name, well, in every town and village, or in every home, in every town and village, one set of Bhagavatam should be there. It's possible. And it's like, just seeing those pictures, I can show it to you. And they're so happy, to get, a new set of books, the whole complete set of the Bhagavatam like that. So it's when people will get a chance to come in contact with such transcendental literatures written by, Krishna's pure devotee, then regardless of what background they're from, there are very good chances they'll come. Yeah.
One more thing, Maharaj, that like we have Srimad Bhagavatam, few men argue that there is Devi Bhagavatam, that Devi is there in Devi Bhagavatam it is told that Devi is the topmost. So the people used to argue. They argue that
they still do. Not used to, they still do.
Still do that. They be stop motion like this. So how to try to convince them, or
Very difficult to convince someone who is convinced differently. But
just give them prasad?
yes, you got it right. This is way, well, yeah, anyways. In 2 villages. One was our Nishkant Prabhu, who was here.
Yes.
Nishikant,
Yes.
his village.
Okay.
Bangshi, and another village which is called Gajankol, both in Howrah, close by. Gajankol village, they celebrated when I went to visit last time we were there. They celebrated their 40th anniversary of being a Namhata.
Haribol.
I think it was like in 1979.
First Namhata maybe.
One of the first, the first, I don't know, out of so many, they were one of the first. Anyways, you can just quickly. Yeah, this is in one of the villages. You can see the books are nicely, So Howrah is very close to Calcutta,
Yes, Maharaj.
touching Calcutta. Of course, different from Calcutta. Yeah. Even one of those villages, this Gajankol, the one that celebrated its 40th anniversary, over the years, actually with the help of Prabhu Nityananda, who cultivated the devotees there over the years, they simple village, right? But they built a very nice temple with a big dome, like, I mean, bigger than our temple here. Bigger than SSKBK temple, eh? You've seen? And I was there when there was nothing, and then, over the years, okay, something started to come up, and then they started to build the dome. And last time we were there, they had prasadam. It wasn't, the temple structure was finished, but maybe not the... So now the whole thing is
Namhata or proper temple?
Namhata.
Namhata.
Yeah. I mean, it's a proper temple. They have deities and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah. So we will close for now. Jai Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai Sri Prabhupada ki Jai Nitai Gaura Pimananda. Yes. There's a short video on this actually. Let me see. I'll show the video. Just 1 second. We can show the video here.
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, why not? I mean, trick philosophy. Trick photography. Trick philosophy. Prabhupada's and Lord Chaitanya's mercy gradually infiltrating, village by village, every kind of village. Okay, some new box has appeared. Huh?
Made by our Tukaram Prabhu.
Oh, where's Tukaram? Oh, hiding there. Okay.